Hello students, welcome to my channel Nova Academy. Today we will discuss a very interesting and very important topic regarding metals. How metals react with water. Let's see what is the topic. Reaction of metal with water. Reaction of metal with water. Students, you all know every metal have their different reactivity. So first we will see the reactivity series of the metals. After that we will see how these metals react with the water. So I am writing here the reactivity series. First is potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver and gold. So students, here I am writing the reactivity series. So you all know the reactivity series, how it varies. The metals which are present at the bottom, these are less in their reactivity, and the metals which are present on the top, they are high in their reactivity. So students, first see one thing. Here I am writing a metal, that is a lead. So the metals which are present below the lead, these metals are very less reactive and they will not give any reaction with the water. Will not give any reaction with water. Keep in mind, these metals will not react with water even in any condition. If you provide any condition, if you change the temperature, pressure, everything, but these metals will not give reaction with the water. So the metals which are present above the lead, these all metals will react with the water. So how they react with the water? You see. Students, these are the two metals which are very reactive. So these are the most reactive metals. So how these metals react with the water? So first I am taking here potassium. When potassium react with water, so what will happen? Potassium potassium hydroxide formed there and hydrogen gas evolved at that time. So students, I am writing here the reaction of sodium. Now, when sodium reacts with water, so sodium hydroxide formed and hydrogen gas evolved at that time. So students, see, suppose I am taking water. So students, these two metals are very reactive. So due to their reactivity, they react with the cold water. Why they react with the cold water? Because they are very reactive. So they can react with the cold water. No need of any temperature, no need of hot water, no need of steam here. So because these are very reactive metal, that is why they react with the cold water. If you put these metals in the cold water, they start reacting. So when you put sodium and potassium in the water, what will happen? First they start floating on the, when you put sodium and potassium in the water, what will happen at that time? These metals start floating on the surface. So what are the characteristics of the reaction? So first, sodium and potassium sodium floats on the water. Floats on the water. Secondly, what will happen? This reaction is highly exothermic. Highly exothermic means lot of heat produced in this reaction. Reaction is highly exothermic. Thirdly, you see the reaction here. When sodium and potassium react with the water, what will happen? Potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide formed there. Along with this, hydrogen gas also evolved here. Along with this, hydrogen gas also evolved here. So this hydrogen gas rises up in the form of bubbles. So hydrogen gas rises up in the form of bubbles. So this hydrogen gas rises up because hydrogen gas is insoluble in water. So what will happen? When hydrogen gas come in contact with oxygen, it catches fire. Because why it catches fire? Because in this reaction, lot of heat produced. Because this reaction is highly exothermic, due to that heat, hydrogen gas start burning and hydrogen gas catches fire. Moreover, what will happen? So when hydrogen gas catches fire, the sodium and potassium which are floating on the surface, they also catch fire and start burning. So sodium and potassium also catches fire. So students, this is the reaction of sodium and potassium with water, with cold water. Here I am taking cold water. So these two metals give reaction with the cold water. Moreover, one thing, when potassium catches fire, the flame of potassium, the color of flame of potassium is lilac. Lilac color. Lilac means violet color. Violet means when potassium catches fire, now violet color flame produces there. Secondly, when sodium catches fire, golden yellow flame produces. So these two metals burn with different flames. In case of potassium, lilac color is violet color flame, and in the case of sodium, golden yellow flame will be there. So this is the reaction of sodium and potassium with the water. This is the reason why we keep sodium and potassium in the kerosene oil. If you keep this metal in the air, what will happen? These metals absorb moisture from the air and they catches fire. So to prevent from the accidental fire, we kept this metal in the kerosene oil. So students, so keep in mind these two metals are very reactive. That is why they react in the cold water. So this is the reaction of sodium and potassium with the water. Now we will move on the another metal. So see, here is a calcium metal. So we will see how calcium reacts with the water. So students, how calcium reacts with water? So we will see here. Calcium is also a reactive metal. Due to the reactivity of calcium, we can react with the cold water. So it can react with the cold water. What will be the reaction? So see, calcium plus water, calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas formed in this case. So students, when we put calcium in the water, calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas formed there. So see, suppose I am taking here cold water, put calcium metal in it. Students, in the case of calcium, what are the characteristics of the reaction? So, calcium sinks in water first. When first you put calcium up, it sink in the water, and after reaction, what will happen? Calcium sinks in water first and then start floating. After some time, calcium start floating on the surface. How calcium start floating on the surface? Students, when calcium react with water, hydrogen gas formed there, and hydrogen gas insoluble in water. Due to this, it rises upward. When hydrogen gas rises upward in the form of bubbles, so this is a bubble, hydrogen gas bubble. So calcium stick with this bubble. So calcium stick with the bubbles and it also come on the surface. So calcium sticks with hydrogen gas bubbles and come on surface. Moreover, this reaction is not highly exothermic, not heat produced in this case. Due to this, hydrogen will not catch fire here. So in this reaction is not a violent as sodium and potassium. So in this case, there is no fire. So in case of calcium reaction, there is no fire. So these are the characteristics of the calcium reaction with the water. So now students, we will talking about the another metals. So first see, these three metals react with the cold water. Now we have these three metals. First see these three metals, aluminium, zinc and iron. These are very less reactive. These three metals are more reactive. And here is only one metal left that is between the more reactive and less reactive. So we can say magnesium as middle in their reactivity. Not very high reactive and not very less in the reactivity. So when we see these three metals react with the cold water, so the last three, aluminium, zinc and iron, these three metals react with the steam. Why they react with the steam? Because these metals are very less in their reactivity. So if you want reaction happens there, you have to take steam in these cases. So we will see here how these metals react with the water. Students, let's start. When aluminium react with the water, aluminium oxide and hydrogen gas formed in this case. In this case, aluminium oxide and hydrogen gas formed. So here I am taking steam, not a cold water. So in case of zinc is also less in the reactivity. So zinc oxide and hydrogen gas formed. Whereas in case of iron oxide and hydrogen gas formed. So students, these are the reaction of aluminium, zinc and iron with the steam. So these are the products. So now we will compare the product of these metals and the product of sodium, potassium and calcium in case of sodium, potassium and calcium. What will be the product? Hydroxide. Hydroxide formed. Whereas in case of these metals, oxide formed, not hydroxide. So this is the main difference between the reactivity. So in case of these three metals, hydroxide formed, whereas in case of these metals, oxide formed. Now only one metal is left, that is magnesium. So how magnesium react with water? So magnesium is middle in the reactivity, so it will not react with the cold water. So not a very less in their reactivity, so you haven't need to supply steam here. So when we put hot water in the magnesium, it will react with the hot water. So what will be the product? So what will be the product? We will see magnesium plus water. It will give magnesium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. So students, these are the reaction of metals with the water. So magnesium give reaction with the hot water. These metal give reaction with the steam. Upper three metals give reaction with the cold water. These three metals give reaction with the cold water, this with the hot water, these with the steam. So these we discussed here regarding the metals and reactivity of metals with the water.